All right, what's going on? Troy Daubert here, founder, Don, VendettaSportsMedia.com. Today we're doing the OnlyFans list for the running backs. If you're a whack job that does the zero RB method, which I don't recommend doing, but if you are one of those whack jobs, this is the list for you. This is the video for you. So again, the point behind the OnlyFans list, we're looking for the gems, diamonds in the rough. Hey, this person needs more love. Hey, this person might win you your league. Let's just get to it because there's a lot of names for this one. So these first two, I don't know if they really count as OnlyFans, but they're on my fantasy team and I still think they're values. So let's just go over it really quickly. First, DeAndre Swift. So earlier in the offseason, his ranking was way lower than it is now. So last year, in terms of fantasy finishes, he finishes as RB19 in a season where he didn't really even have a good DeAndre Swift season. So RB19 is not terrible, right? I mean, hey, that's an RB2 in leagues. That's decent. But like even now, so his ADP has climbed, right? Or his ranking has climbed. But even now, so we're going to use this fantasy footballers because ESPN's really dialed into this bullshit in terms of they are refusing to rank more than 20 quarterbacks. They are only doing PPR rankings, which is nonsense. But anyway, Swift and his fantasy footballers, and I'm not a fan of these people, but they at least like do work. So we'll go with them for now. They got Swift at 27. That's way too low. Fantasy Sharks, where they got him? 25, too low. Where's Barry got him? 22. That's the highest. I'm surprised he's the highest because he's normally a fucking hater. Again, here's the thing with Swift. So last year he finishes as 19 on a bad Bears team. And again, you know my golden rule in fantasy. I don't want running backs on bad teams. So he finishes as RB19 on a bad Bears team. In comes Ben Johnson. Year 2, Caleb Williams. Their offensive line should be better. They didn't draft any of his replacement. Minus one guy that we'll get to later. Swift should be in the top 15. And he has a chance to be in the top 10. So that one to me is a screaming value. Next one. And again, I don't know if this counts as an OnlyFans. I think that it should, simply because I'm the only person in the industry that had him ranked as RB1. And I think the people that are aware of this are very nervous about the way this is going to go. So Travion Henderson, put him on the list. Let's see where they got him ranked. And by the way, after the preseason, it looks like his stock's going up in terms of the ranking. So they got Henderson at 20, 22, 20. That ranking has climbed since the preseason. I mean, his first touch, he takes a kick return to the house, and you can just see. Here's the thing about Henderson. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again for any of the fantasy people that don't read my NFL draft notes. The gear that guy has up his ass, nobody else does. In this draft class with all the running backs, the gear that he has, nobody else has. So he will be the best running back in this draft. I will remember the receipts. I will be a prick when it happens. So be on the right side of history and draft Travion Henderson. All right, now this is where the real list gets started, because those first two guys, they're not being criminally disrespected, but they kind of were. So in the original write-up that I have prepared, because I got these drafts ready, I was going to put Brian Robinson on the list. Then he gets traded. We don't really know how the fantasy community is going to react. But now that the trade has happened, I think I like him more based on where he's being ranked. So let's just go over that, right? So last year he finishes as RB28. That's in 14 games. Decent season. Not a great season, but he at least scored his fair share of touchdowns, and 4.3 yards per carry isn't brutal. So this year, after the trade, where he's being ranked, and I get that they have McCaffrey. Trust me, I understand that. 68? That's stupid. Are you serious? Is he seriously ranked that low? 57! You people are crackheads. Okay, I don't think he's updated this. This is why. When was this published? That's why. Okay, so he hasn't updated his rankings. That gives you full context on basically, that actually gives you perfect context on what's happened. Perfect context on what happened. And actually now I like Brian Robinson more given the circumstances. So before the trade, he's basically ranked in the RB30 range, right? As we saw by Barry's list. After the trade, he's being ranked in the 60s. Did anybody watch the fucking games last year? And when I say that, I mean this. Do we think McCaffrey's going to play 17 games? I'm rooting for that to happen. I hope that happens. I'm simply asking, what are the expectations here in terms of Christian McCaffrey? Do we think he's going to be playing 17 games? Because any game that Brian Robinson gets to handle this load, he's a top 20 running back, maybe a top 15 running back. Kyle Shanahan is going to get the most out of his running back. And here's the thing that I think people are kind of missing now with this trade. Deebo Samuel's gone. Who's to say that they won't line McCaffrey up at receiver? Because he can do it. So, again, they trade for Brian Robinson to keep McCaffrey fresh. Are we sure that Brian Robinson won't be the, hey, we're inside the goal line. Why make McCaffrey take these hits? Let's get Brian Robinson the touchdown here. Because that's going to happen. And I think it's very possible that they both line up on the field at the same time, given this. Look, we know what's going on with their wide receiver room. Ayuk, hurt, not going to be on the field for a while. Juwan Jennings, hurt / contract, not going to be on the field. Jacob Cowing's now hurt. Jordan Watkins is hurt. Russell Gage just got fucking hurt. They don't got anybody besides Ricky Pearsall. So it's very, very possible that McCaffrey's going to play more receiver, especially now that they don't have Deebo. McCaffrey can now slide into that Deebo role in terms of jet sweeps, bubble screens, drag routes in the slot. Like, McCaffrey can do those things. So if McCaffrey's going to line up at receiver, and it doesn't have to happen all the time, if it happens 20 snaps, if Robinson's on the field for 20 snaps and he gets 15 fucking carries, he's going to smash that ranking. So I guess I like Brian Robinson still, because now he's being criminally ranked and he's one injury away. And I guess I had this other name on the list, but I guess we'll go over it now while I'm on the San Francisco part of things. Still in on Jordan James, but it's clear now that they're going to redshirt him. So if you're in a long-term league, I still recommend going to get Jordan James. If you're in a redraft league, he doesn't need to be on your radar yet. So there's an update on that. In terms of the Washington side of things, because again, in the original write-up that I have ready to go, I had Brian Robinson on the OnlyFans list when he was on Washington. So now let's just basically insert Washington running backs, because that's definitely a sleeper situation still. So let's just kind of go over where the media has adjusted, right? Don't do that. Don't do that. Do not have Austin Eckler as your top Washington running back. So that's wrong. That's actually good if the media. If you're like a viewer and you're trying to prepare for fantasy football, that's actually great news. Okay, so they have Merritt at 57 and Chris Rodriguez is 58. That's code for we don't fucking know. Fantasy Sharks got Krosky Merritt at 37, Eckler at 39. That's better. That's a way better interpretation of what's going to happen here. And Rodriguez is 52. So here's how I feel about the Washington running back situation. And this one, again, needs to be talked about. And given where they're actually being ranked, there's still value to be had here. So for starters, I would take Krosky Merritt first. I think Washington is kind of telling you what they think here, and that is they don't trade Brian Robinson if they don't think he's ready to go. So I would go with Krosky Merritt first. They clearly like him. He's looked pretty good in the preseason. Now, I want to pump the brakes a little bit on here, because we're still talking about a guy who started his career at Alabama State, had one breakout season at New Mexico, played one singular game at Arizona, didn't get invited to the Senior Bowl, was shaky in the first 2 to 3 days of practice at the East-West game. Then he goes to the East-West Shrine Bowl game and actually has a great game. We're not talking about some god that's going to win you your league. So with this Washington running back room, we basically have two buckets. We have the Eckler archetype, which is what Merritt is. And we have the Brian Robinson archetype, which is what Chris Rodriguez and McNichols are. So you get the inside runners and the change of pace guys, 2 and 2. I would take Merritt first. Based on last year, I don't know how you can trust Eckler other than, like, if you want Eckler for $1 at the end of your draft, I'm completely fine with that. But based on last year, his age curve, what we saw in terms of efficiency, how they never even gave him the ball in terms of running attempts, he's basically there to just be a receiving back at this point, who maybe will have 3 to 4 catches a game. So this is how I power rate him. I would go Krosky Merritt first. 1, because he has the most upside. 2, because they clearly made the Brian Robinson trade because of him. 3, he actually has talent in terms of he's got fresh legs. He didn't play basically all of college football last year. No real wear and tear on him. B, he can catch the ball, so he's going to be a factor in that aspect. And C, he's not like a slow turd like the McNichols or like a Benny Snell would be. He's actually got some decent wheels on him. So we still have an offense with Jaden Daniels where Daniels is such a rushing threat himself that it's going to make life easier for whoever the running back is. I would put Chris Rodriguez second, mostly because, again, he's still kind of in his prime. I think he's going to be a better version of Benny Snell, and he's probably going to get the touchdowns. So you have that factor. McNichols is just a guy, don't waste your fucking time unless there's like a bundle of injuries. And then Eckler would be like, if you're really desperate and you're hoping to catch James White bullshit out of a bottle of nothing, there you go. So again, if you're not in a PPR league, Eckler is fucking worthless. If you're in a PPR league, that would be the only way to consider him. And that would be like, hey, we're basically doing this for free, hoping that he has something left, sort of thing. So that's the way that I would play those running back situations. Again, I have a different write-up. I'm going to change the write-up in the article. But just now that trade happened, we can kind of adjust accordingly. Next, kind of confused on this one. Not really sure why this guy doesn't get any respect. And that's J.K. Dobbins. So J.K. Dobbins finished last year as RB21 in 13 games. If he plays a full healthy season, he's like up here. So where is he being ranked? Wait till you see this, cheese. RB40. That's fucking stupid. 33. That's more reasonable. 30. Okay, 30 is more reasonable. Yeah, okay. So I just don't really understand this one. He was still good last year. So he leaves the Chargers and goes to a Broncos team who also has a good line. So I don't think we should be worried about him leaving the Chargers for like a worse situation. I don't think that's the case. Number 2, he's going to open up the season as the starter in Denver. And he can actually fucking block, which means he's not going to come off the field in those situations. Last year, 4.6 yards per carry. That's pretty good. 905 yards, 9 touchdowns. Imagine if you played every game. Now, I understand he is an injury risk. Not denying that part. He's definitely an injury risk. And I've gotten burned here several fucking times. Trust me. Right here is one of them. The injury stuff, I get why he's being ranked where he is. But like RB40 is stupid. If you can have J.K. Dobbins as... What would RB40 be like? If J.K. Dobbins is your 5th running back off the bench, that's awesome. That's fantastic, especially in a best ball league where you don't have to worry about it. So A is going to be the starter in Denver. B, he's filling the role of Javonte Williams. Does anybody understand how many touches Javonte Williams had? 139 carries. He wasn't efficient at all. So let's say he's a better version of Javonte Williams. The year before, he had 217 carries. Last year, at 139. This part's the kicker. 58 fucking targets. 70 fucking targets. Now you're going to say to yourself, how the hell did Javonte Williams have 70 fucking targets when he's basically washed up and broken? One easy answer. He can block. So when he's on the field to block, he's going to get the checkdowns because Jaleel McLaughlin can't fucking block. And RJ Harvey is not going to be trusted to do that, at least right away. So Dobbins is going to be on the field for all of those situations. He's listed as the starter beyond those situations. And his target number is going to go way up because that wasn't part of the Greg Roman offense, but it is part of the Sean Payton offense. So if he's getting thrust into the role of Javonte Williams, and he simply does it better than Javonte Williams, he can be a top 15 running back. I mean, if you're going to leave this fucking guy for dead, I'll take him. You know, like, if that's where you're going to rank him. Sure, buddy. Next. I don't know if this one even counts as an OnlyFans either, because I think in recent weeks, some people have come around to this, but again, I had them listed, so let's just go through it. Jordan Mason. Where's Jordan Mason being ranked? 33, 28. Wow. I like 28. And then we got 32. So here's where I'm at with Jordan Mason. I just think he's a good football player. And I think they brought him in for a reason. Why give up a draft pick to go get Jordan Mason when there was an NFL draft full of 800 running backs? They clearly like this player. He's a very capable player. His yards per carry mark is always through the fucking roof. Like every time this guy touches the ball, pretty good things happen. So this one is really a twofold. Now, he's being ranked a little bit higher than I thought he was going to be. But the numbers on Jordan Mason, I mean, dude, they kind of speak for themselves here. So 5.2 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns. Now that's with Shanahan. So Shanahan always gets the most out of his backs. We understand that. But again, I've been saying this since he played at Georgia Tech, and I want you to keep this in mind. He started ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs at Georgia Tech. I know that people don't remember that, but it's a fact. Here we go. 6 yards a carry. 5.2 yards per carry, 5.2 yards per carry. So he's averaging 5.3 yards per carry on 236 attempts. Okay, all right. Now here's Aaron Jones. Last year, Aaron Jones, career high in rushing yards, career high in rushing attempts. Then you add in all these fucking targets. Career low in yards per carry. So let's piece all this together. Incoming Jordan Mason, who last year Aaron Jones didn't have any competition. That's factor number 1. Factor number 2, Aaron Jones is now heading into his age 31 season. Again, I'm not going to say that Aaron Jones is done because he obviously still had something left last year, but we're talking about a guy who also he fumbled the ball 5 times and just they got lucky and he didn't lose all of them. So he had a career high in fumbles, a career low in yards per carry, a career high in carries, and then it's still a ton of work in the receiving game. We're sure this isn't going to be a committee. We're sure Jordan Mason isn't going to get the touchdowns. Jordan Mason has a chance to be a top 15 running back. The only thing that I'm actually worried about, and by the way, let's mention this too. Year 1 of JJ McCarthy. Do you think they're just going to drop back and pass 800 times? Now, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell wants to do that. But is it the responsible thing to do with a first-year starting quarterback? Probably not. Probably not. All right. Next on the list. This is the first time I'm ever putting this player on the list, but I think he deserves it. And that's Jaylen Warren. We're going to fire up some Jaylen Warren this year. So last year, he finished RB40. He's never been on the list before. So let's make that clear. This year, he is being ranked RB28, 31, RB29. So if you watch the cheese video on what I said about Caleb Johnson, let's just flip it around and talk about Jaylen Warren. It's become very, very clear, and I don't know how you ignore these signs. So number 1, Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust Caleb Johnson. That's been widely reported. Number 2, Caleb Johnson has looked bad in practice. Number 3, Mike Tomlin also does not trust Caleb Johnson. Number 4, we kind of saw what Arthur Smith did with rookie Bijan Robinson. Keep in mind, Caleb Johnson is not Bijan Robinson or even fucking remotely close. When they drafted Bijan Robinson in Atlanta, when Arthur Smith was the head coach and calling the fucking offense, Tyler Algier still got like 200 fucking carries. Jaylen Warren's the starter. I think we have to adjust accordingly. Plus, Jaylen Warren, even if that running back shit drops a little bit, he's going to get all the receiving work. So Jaylen Warren is the starter. Jaylen Warren is getting all the receiving work. And Jaylen Warren is going to be in there to block for third downs because they don't trust anybody else to do it. And I just simply don't understand how we can rank Caleb Johnson as the higher player when he's not ahead of Kenneth Gainwell in the depth chart. Because that's an undisputable fact. Kenneth Gainwell is listed as the backup. And during the preseason games, Kenneth Gainwell came in before Caleb Johnson. Now, Caleb Johnson might pass Kenneth Gainwell, but it also might take 10 weeks for that to happen. And even when that does happen, Jaylen Warren is still the fucking incumbent. So I would take Jaylen Warren at that price. No problem. I'm not the biggest Pittsburgh fan, but if you're telling me he's one of the worst starting running backs in the league, I just think there's some value there. Next, sort of in a similar mode, I don't really understand why people don't learn their lesson. That is Tank Bigsby. He's just the best running back that Jacksonville has. Last year, he finishes as RB31. and he scored 7 touchdowns on a terrible Jacksonville team. Remember my golden rule. We don't want running backs on bad teams, right? We don't want running backs on bad teams. I simply need Tank Bigsby to be on a more competent team. If Jacksonville is simply more competent than the 5th pick in the draft, he averaged 4.6 yards per carry last year, scored 7 touchdowns on really not a ton of opportunities. But we're starting to see the climb. Now, he's not going to get targets. Who gives a fuck? Rookie, 132 carries, 2 touchdowns. Or 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sophomore, 766 yards, 7 touchdowns. Now look at where he's being ranked. Because we're projecting his 2025 season, right? RB 35, that's stupid. 32, still dumb. What? There's no way that he has Tootin ahead of Tank Bigsby. It's one thing to have ETN. Like, I'm not surprised that the mainstream media is stupid enough to have ETN as the highest ranked Jaguars running back. But how the fuck are you going to put Tootin when he's clearly the 3rd string back, when he has 0 role until they move on from ETN ahead of Bigsby? That's fucking stupid. This Matthew Berry, no wonder why he quit doing his love-hate column, because I fucking own that clown. Are you serious? Bigsby's a top 20 running back. That's crazy. Alrighty, next, Dylan Sampson. I'm not going to take forever on this one. Let's just go through it. Until Judkins is on the field, which it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. We don't really know what the fuck's going to happen. Dylan Sampson is the most talented running back that the Browns have. And right now, he's being left for dead. Nobody fucking wants him. All right, so where's he being ranked? 56. Jesus Christ. Look, man, we don't really know what's going to happen with Judkins. So I understand why you want to put Judkins higher. Okay, so he's at 50. He's at 42. 42 is way more reasonable. So we do understand that Dylan Sampson led the SEC in rushing last year, right? We do understand that he's also fast and can catch the ball. We do understand that Jerome Ford is as jagged of a jag as it gets. Dylan Sampson will control this backfield as long as Judkins isn't on the field. Now, if Judkins comes back, it really depends on your league format. So, like, if you have like an IR spot and you can stash Judkins and then you can draft Sampson, that sounds like a pretty good idea to me. Look, and again, a lot of it is dependent on Judkins. If Judkins comes back, Sampson's probably not going to have any fantasy value. But if it's fucking Sampson and Ford, and here's the kicker when it comes to Sampson. You probably won't know when to start him. But again, if you're like over the age of 15 and you play in a best ball league instead of a dino ball league, Sampson's a pretty good bet because he's gonna make explosive plays. Next, let's talk about this Dallas running back situation. And I'm not even going to go over where they finished last year because that doesn't seem like even a productive use of time because it's an entirely different running back situation. So they got Javonte at 34 and Blue at 52. 41, 48, 45, 48. Wow, this one even has Blue higher. So here's how I feel about it. Somebody's going to score points for the Dallas Cowboys. Somebody has to score points for the Dallas Cowboys. I believe that Miles Sanders is washed, so I wouldn't waste my time there. I also believe that Phil Maffa sucks, so I wouldn't waste my time there either. I would imagine this running back room is going to be some combination of Javonte Williams, if he's healthy. If all things are healthy. Javonte Williams, Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue will be the nickel back. Javonte Williams will do the other things that aren't related to being a nickelback. Blue has some fumble problems, or at least he did at Texas, but like somebody has to score points for the Dallas Cowboys. So if you just simply take both of them, odds are one of them will hit. And again, we're talking about borderline free. So like if you're in an auction draft and you get Javonte Williams for $5-10 and you get Jaden Blue for $5-10, somehow, some way, I would imagine And it might not even have to be that player every week. Maybe week 4, Blue goes off, and week 7, Javonte goes off, or something like that. If you have both of them and you don't have to worry about who to start, I would have no problem signing up for a piece of the Cowboys offense, especially at that price. Next, and I kind of already went over this one, so I guess I'll keep this one short. Where's Braylon Allen? 47. Next, 42, 40. I think 40 is probably the most accurate. This is a hot take of mine. And again, I said it in a cheese video. I'll say it again. Gun to my head, I would take Braylon Allen. I would take Braylon Allen over Breece Hall. Now, Breece Hall is being ranked as like RB13. So the way that I would play this is pretty simple. Let the asshole take Breece Hall and then take his handcuff with Braylon Allen. And then by the time we get to week 3, trade him Braylon Allen. That's the way you should play it, because this is going to be a committee. Don't know who needs to hear that, but it's going to be committee. And I think Braylon Allen's the better talent. And I think it's only a matter of time before he goes, woo! And again, you can go fact check me on this. Last year, for my 2024 running back rankings, it was Bucky Irving. Then it was Braylon Allen. I think Braylon Allen will end up being on the higher end of that draft class, because the flashes that he's already shown, I don't see how you don't already see that. So, yeah, I would do that. Next, and again, I guess this really depends on the injury to Joe Mixon, because the way that the mainstream media has kind of corresponded with all this stuff is they seem to be panicking, and now Mixon is almost borderline free now too. But we got Chubb on the list, so let's just go through that one. And again, context is very important here. So again, I want to make this very clear. If Mixon is free and Chubb is free, take Mixon too. But if Mixon goes for a higher price, still also take Chubb. Okay, so they got Mixon at 23. That's stupid. I've seen Mixon all over the place. That's why I'm adding that caveat. Where do they have Chubb? 54 between Dowdle and Marshawn Lloyd. These people are fucking crackheads. They're just not smart. Maybe I don't want to use that fantasy footballers list next time. All right, where do they got Chubb? 47. More reasonable than another list, but still awful. All right, where do they got Chubb? 55. Holy fuck, the disrespect is out of control, man. I understand he's been hurt. I understand that he's not going to be prime Nick Chubb anymore. Here's what I do know. Somebody has to pick up fantasy points for the Houston Texans. And if this Mixon foot injury is as bad as it might be, to where he's out for 6 weeks, guess who's going to steal the fucking job? And guess who's not going to give it back? Woody Marks is a pass catcher only. So there's really no shot for Woody Marks to be this 3rd down or this 3-down killer. They also have Dameon Pierce, who's been relegated to a kick return rule. This is going to be Chubb's job for as long as Mixon's out. And he's going to score points because he's Nick Chubb. And he's no longer stuck in Cleveland. So I would take the shot that Chubb has one more, I don't want to say great year in him. Like, I'm not expecting 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. But he might get you 900 and 8 touchdowns. That's not outrageous. So if that happens, he's going to smash that ranking. He's still one of the best running backs to come out of the draft in the last 10 years, whether he's hurt or not. And right now, he seems to at least not be currently hurt, or at least working his way back. So if Chubb is the starter and Mixon isn't on the field for the first however many weeks, highway robbery. Let's do a couple quick hitters, because there's really no reason for me to go over where these guys are being ranked. They're all dirt cheap and free. If you have Kyron Williams, I would handcuff him with Jarquez Hunter. I think he's better than Blake Corum. If you want to take Blake Corum too, I guess that's fine, but I'm just simply telling you, in terms of like raw athleticism, speed, power, Jarquez Hunter is actually the most talented back that they have. Now, Kyron Williams has turned himself into a great player. But if you want his handcuff, or you're trying to steal his handcuff, and maybe Kyron Williams actually gets hurt for the first time in his career, go Jarquez Hunter. Next, Sean Tucker's going to be more involved in the Bucs offense. My guess is he steals Rachaad White's job. My guess is Rachaad White isn't on the Bucs in 2026. So short and long term, Sean Tucker as the handcuff for Bucky. Keaton Mitchell's going to be back in. I've watched their preseason games. It looks like his speed and lower body explosion is back. I would imagine that the Ravens backfield will go something like this. At this point, they know how Derrick Henry can function within their offense. They want him fresh for the playoffs. Justice Hill was in that complimentary role last year. My guess is that Keaton Mitchell just surpasses him just because he's more talented. So I would imagine that those three guys will be involved, but the longer time goes, the more it will be, hey, Justice Hill is out. Rasheen Ali becomes the number 3. Keaton Mitchell is actually used as a weapon. So in best ball leagues, because again, you can't start Keaton Mitchell. You have to have him on your team for best ball when he pops. So Manungai, if you have Swift, handcuff him with Manungai. Again, you can read my draft notes. I'll link that in the post. I think he's actually the real deal. We've seen success with some of these Rutgers running backs, whether it be Ray Rice, Pacheco, Gus Edwards. There have been good Rutgers running backs. He's the next one. 2 years ago, he led the Big Ten in rushing yards. He's tough. He's never fumbled. He's going to play the Montgomery role. He's way better than Roschon Johnson. And it's very, very possible that like by week 8, he's getting regular carries as like part of the offense because they're not going to give Swift 100% of the carries. So, Manungai. Taj Brooks. Not the biggest fan of Taj Brooks, but like I just also don't think it's impossible that he steps into the Zach Moss role and actually thrives in it. Again, I went over this in the cheese video, so we'll do the inverse now and talk about Brooks. I don't think Brooks is overly fast. I don't think Brooks is overly special, but I also don't think Chase Brown is overly, like Chase Brown's not a Hall of Fame back either. So why can't Taj Brooks carve like an actual role in terms of being the inside runner for this offense? In terms of, because like a lot of why Chase Brown was so good in fantasy last year was because Zach Moss got hurt and they had nobody else and they traded for Khalil Herbert and then he started fumbling and they couldn't put him on the field either. Now P. Ryan's back. He's going to play the third down role. Now you add in Taj Brooks, who should be the Zach Moss. So I think that's absolutely like, if you have Chase Brown, you're out of your mind if you don't take Taj Brooks. And even if you don't have Chase Brown, there's way worse flyers you can take in a deeper league. And then last but not least, and again, I'm not even going to go bother looking at where these guys are being ranked because there's no point. But if Najee Harris is free, you should probably just take him. We don't know. Again, we don't know what's going on with his eye injury or the fireworks thing or whatever the fuck's going on. But it doesn't sound like he's ruled out for the season. Like if he was like never coming back, this was a serious accident, he's done and cooked, we would have already found out. It sounds like he's at least on the field and trying to get back in the mix. So if we find out that he's on the field for week 1 and he's free, you just got like a top 20, 30 running back for nothing. Again, this depends on your league. If somebody like goes and takes Najee Harris at his normal ranking, that's fine. But if like everyone in your league is panicking and he's just sitting there and you're like, I don't know, he's like $1 or $2, or you're in the 17th round and like he's still sitting there, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, he doesn't come back, you cut him for the bye week kicker. Or he doesn't come back, you cut him for the bye week tight end. If he does come back, we're talking about a running back who had 299 carries last year. And the Chargers are going to fucking use him. So, again, he should not be free. Regardless of how big of a risk he is right now or not, he should not be free. I guess you'll leave it with that. Feel free to comment. I'm here. Comments, questions, concerns, I'll try to get back to you. Other than that, I got one more video to record. Hope everyone has a great fantasy season, and peace out, Girl Scout.